Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of April 3rd to the 9th, though. Other than it's pretty warm out here in Southern California, though. Hopefully it cools down as the days go on, to be exact. And while I was able to do a video last week I was able to do a video last week, and I'll probably do one for this week, though. There's a good chance I might not be able to do one next week, though. Just like last week, something came up, and there's something I got that we're trying to work around and deal with, though. It's possible I might be moving to still in Southern California, but moving to another place, though. So I'll try to see if I could do a video next week. I'm not 100% certain, but we'll see if that happens, though. But in either case, though, we got 4 stories to cover, including the Unreal Engine 5 now available for developers to use, though. Bandai Namco recently has responded in regards of any possibility of a sequel to Tales of Arise. We're hearing reports about the possibility of PS3 games coming to the PS5, but sort of in a way natively, not the streaming thing that we learned last week over their revised PlayStation Plus. And of course, Activision Microsoft is in the story this time with some comments made by several US senators, though. If you're interested where I got the source of my information, links will be in the description down below in this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, though, I do want to do like to call my 2 cents. Stories that kind of have caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details, though. The first one is a report from The Verge that seems that Activision Blizzards are walking out because of the whole vaccine mandate. This has to do with some employees feel about the whole situation where they don't feel like it's safe going back to work because of the whole COVID-19 situation, though, and some are not happy about the vaccine mandate, though. My position on this, and again, I'm just speaking for myself, though, is that I do support the vaccine mandate, though, and I think if we want to bring some form of normality back, though, we have to I do think vaccine mandates are important, though, especially if we want to bring some form of bringing things back to normal as best as we possibly can, and not to mention prepare ourselves in the event of any other new variation of COVID, though, that we are now more prepared than we were before in the past, though. We also learned that Remedy is going to be remaking Max Payne 1 and 2 for the PS5, PC, and I believe Xbox Series S and X. Kind of came out of nowhere, to be exact, though, and it's kind of surprised to see that they are remaking those games, considering right now it is available on the backwards compatibility on the part of Microsoft, Microsoft's backwards compatibility for Xbox Series S and X, and also it certainly is nice though. No word on a release date at this time, though. From what I've been hearing, it's probably going to be years away, though, and I am kind of surprised they are not remaking Max Payne 3 in a way. That's kind of interesting considering they're remaking 1 and 2, though. Maybe 3 doesn't need a remake, though, or maybe they'll announce it at some point down the road. But in either case, Remedy is doing a remake of Max Payne 1 and 2, though. We also learned that there is a little bit of an Easter egg in the recent released Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, though, and apparently it has to do with Xenoblade Chronicles, and that has to do with one of the Legos. I believe when you activate sort of like some sort of event, though, like a disco event, they'll say a famous line of, "I'm really feeling it," though. This is a line I think was used by Shulk, or I think it was Ryan. I think he's the one who said it, but I'm not 100% sure, though. But it's certainly nice to see that little Xenoblade Easter egg into it, though. That, and of course, I'm looking forward to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 this year, though. We also learned that Reggie Fils-Aimé will be narrating his upcoming book, though, that at least on the audiobook side of it, though. It's called Disrupting the Game, of how he went from being from the Bronx to the head of Nintendo of America. So that certainly is certainly nice to hear that he will be narrating his book, though. We also learned that Nintendo has showed off a video of another part of their Lego Super Mario set, this time with Lego Peach, though. Outside of it, I still think it's sort of odd direction that they went with the Lego Super Mario, though. It's still pretty interesting, and obviously they're continuing to do it, and it seems that there's still an audience for it, though. As the video at the end showed Lego Peach saying hi to Lego Mario, so certainly nice for those who are into the Lego Super Mario, though. We also learned that a second update for Metroid Dread has been released, and this one adds the boss rush mode, though, which is certainly nice to see Metroid Dread get some more support, though. Personally, I would like to see more story content. That would be nice to see for Metroid Dread, but nevertheless, it's still nice to see that it's getting the support it needs, and I'm glad the game is still doing very well, though. It certainly didn't win Game of the Year at the Video Games Awards, but it was nice that it was nominated, nevertheless, to be exact. We also learned that Square Enix in Japan has filed a trademark for Tactics OGRE, though, so obviously this is a game, I think, from Enix back during, the Super Nintendo, PlayStation, and I think there was one of them that was ported over to the Nintendo 64, though. We do know that Triangle Strategy is sort of a homage to those type of games, or its spiritual successor, so it's sort of interesting to see what this means. No words if it's going to be a remake of a game or if it's going to be a new entry, though, but seeing how Square Enix has kind of dipped their toes a little bit in bringing some of their games back, whether it's, the Mana series to to even Live a Live, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, which is seeing a remake courtesy of, the HG 2D style, though. It's possible we could see this game make a comeback, though. We also learned that basically Aulx has released streaming guidelines for the Switch version of 13 Sentinel Against Rim, which I honestly think is kind of stupid, though, considering the fact that the game has already been out on the PS4 by now. Everyone knows about the game, to be exact, so I don't understand why Aulx needs to add a streaming guidelines for basically for 13 Sentinel Against Rim for the Nintendo Switch, unless they completely rework the ending or something like that. But otherwise, I think it's kind of stupid what Aulx is doing. And finally, last but not least, in the movie news side of things, we learned that Jim Carrey is very serious about considering retiring, though. This basically comes in response to, it was an interview, he was asked about it, though. And while part of me not like to see him retire, though, part of me kind of understands. I mean, he probably has done enough. He wants to move on and do other things with his life, though, and that's understandable, though. That being said, though, I did enjoy his role as playing Dr. Robotnik in the first Sonic movie. I'm looking forward to seeing the second one, though, and I would definitely, if a third one happens, though, I would love to see him play Dr. Robotnik one last time. Just like I would love to see one more Dumb and Dumber or Ace Ventura Pet Detective movie if that happens. But at the end of the day, it has to be his call, and if he feels he's done enough, he's done enough, though. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Activision Microsoft, though. Now, one of the big surprises that Microsoft has basically done this generation is we've seen them sort of push a lot in terms of acquisition to try to build up their first-party studios. One of the things that Microsoft was kind of lacking in terms of for their system, though, especially during the Xbox One era, where first-party games were somewhat non-existent. I won't say they didn't have any first-party games. It's just wasn't at the caliber the way, Sony and Nintendo had. But some of the surprises we saw in terms of some of these acquisitions was the purchase of Bethesda, which certainly surprised a lot of people. The creators of Fallout, the Elder Scrolls series, though, and Evil Within, Dishonor, and all that now being under basically Microsoft's roof, though. But one of the biggest surprises I believe that we saw earlier this year was the purchase of Activision Blizzard. This caught a lot of people by surprise, especially given the, part of my language, the shitstorm that Activision Blizzard was going into with the whole sexual harassment, though. And for me, my response to this acquisition was kind of mixed, though. On one hand, I do hope that with this acquisition, though, they can basically put Activision Blizzard in a better position, ranging from not doing Call of Duty every single year or have every single studio work on it, though, to fixing the culture there. But at the same time, though, it does bring up the whole monopoly issue, a concern that some folks have with a lot of these tech companies buying up this stuff, creating to the point that there's really no competition at all, though. And it is worth pointing out that Microsoft back in the 90s was in trouble by the US government and the FTC over its Windows operation system, though. Although supposedly they sort of settled the issue out of court and all that stuff back in the days, though. Well, now recently it seems as though several US senators have sort of raised some concerns about the acquisition, and this has to do with ranging from the culture there to the unionization that we have recently heard about with, the Raven Software game testers, though. Although recently we've heard that Activision Blizzard is now pushing them to be full-time employees, to be exact. But anyway, in several articles, including this one from Pure Xbox, it reads that, quote, let me get it out, all right, in a letter pended to the FTC chairwoman Linda Kahn, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Shelton Whitehouse, if I'm saying the name correctly, and Cory Booker stated that the merger threatens workers-led demand for accountability and could create a dangerous precedent in the industry, though. A small sample of the letter reads that, quote, workers at Activision Blizzard follow years of rampant sexual misconduct and discrimination and unfair labor practices had led for calls for greater transparency and accountability in the gaming industry, and we are deeply concerned that this acquisition could further disenfranchise these workers and prevent their voices from being heard, though. Now, Activision Blizzard has responded to it, saying that, quote, saying that the deal is compelling transaction for all shareholders, including employees, and advised that in regards of Activision CEO Bobby Kotick and any potential financial gains for him personally, no special compensation arrangements were made as part of the acquisition. This was the email sent to CNET, and this is what they had to say. Quote, the company is committed to a safe and equitable, if I'm saying the name correctly, working environment for all employees and has invested significant resources to ensure we're creating a model for the industry. The transaction between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard will not interrupt any of these actions the Activision Blizzard leadership team has implemented throughout 2021 and is continuing to implement in 2022 with regards to improving our workplace. In addition, the workplace culture at Activision Blizzard, Microsoft's Corporation Vice President and General Counsel Lisa told the Wall Street Journal the following: we believe Activision Blizzard will continue making progress, and we're committed to further progress after the deal is closed. Now, I do want to say, after hearing what these senators are, after hearing like folks like Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Bernie Sanders and what they're saying, though, I will say I don't completely disagree with their position on it, though. I will admit that there is the concern that it could be another situation of trading one bad seed for another, though, that there wouldn't be any change to the culture there, that it will still stay the same, or they will try to do what they can, or that Microsoft will try to do what they can to, prevent unionization, though, a position that I don't agree with, though. I believe that if employees, that the decision to unionize or not, it has to be the employee's decision and their decision alone, though, and I do strongly oppose any union busting tactics whatsoever. Having said that, though, I will also admit at the same time, while I don't disagree with what the senators are saying, I do think it's too early to tell if that kind of situation will emerge or not. We'll have to wait and see, assuming everything checks out with the FTC and everything checks out fine, though, whether or not Microsoft will make these appropriate changes, though. And make no mistake, once this deal goes through and everything checks out fine, the ball is going to be in Microsoft's court, especially the Xbox team and Phil Spencer, and they should be held accountable if they don't do anything to change the work culture at Activision Blizzard or not respect any of the employees that decide to unionize or anything like that. So make no mistake, Microsoft's not going to get a free pass. Xbox or Phil Spencer, they're not going to get a free pass. They should be held fully accountable. Make no mistake about it, though. But like I said, it's too early to tell at this time. So we'll have to wait and see how everything plays out. So overall, I think folks like Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Bernie Sanders raise a valid point, though. I think there is some concerns that should be addressed, to be exact, though. But at the same time, I will admit that it's too early to tell if that will happen or not, though. And while Microsoft is saying the right things at this time, though, there is the old saying that goes, actions speak louder than words. So Microsoft is going to have to prove and show that they are very serious in terms of addressing the culture at Activision Blizzard, while at the same time making sure that they respect the decision of the employees if they decide, just like with the Raven Software testers that decide to unionize, that they will respect if the employees at Activision Blizzard make the decision to unionize as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with a report coming out that it seems as though Sony might be working on an idea to bring PS3 games to PS5, supposedly natively or different than how it was originally announced as part of the PlayStation Plus revised subscription service, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a situation surrounding it with the possibility of maybe, we don't know for sure, of native PS3 games on PS5. Now, one of the announcements made, I believe, last week when they announced the whole revised PlayStation Plus subscription service is that for those who went with the top tier service, though, you will be able to stream or natively play PlayStation 2, and I believe, PlayStation Plus games to be exact. Unfortunately, Vita is not on there, which is, I will admit, somewhat disappointed, though. And one of the things that they do offer is the ability to play PlayStation 3 games. However, the only way to play those games is you would have to play them through the cloud streaming. You won't be able to play them natively. This did not really sit well with everyone when that announcement was made, though, as not everybody is a fan of the whole idea of cloud streaming, though. And while I do believe cloud streaming has potential, I don't think we're at a point where it's going to become like the new norm compared to what we've seen with Game Pass, where cloud streaming is a optional choice, which is great, though. But if you don't want to play it through cloud, though, you can play it natively, download it on your Xbox Series X or S to be exact, though. However, if you only have like an Xbox One and you want to play the latest games, it's possible you may have to take that option, though. That may or may not sit well with a lot of folks, though, although lately we've been seeing a lot more Xbox Series X and S out on the market, though. But anyway, back to this one, though. Like I said, not everyone has been happy with the idea of basically streaming basically the PS3 games onto the PS5, though. However, a new report, at least from Jeff Grubb, who has a history of, hits and miss here and there, seems to indicate that Sony may be working on a solution to get native PS3 games running onto the PS5. In an article, if I get that out, okay. In an article from Video Game Chronicles, it reads that, quote, Sony Interactive Entertainment could be working to bring PlayStation 3 games to PS5 without the require to stream them over the internet. That's according to VentureBeat's journalist Jeff Grubb, whose sources have reportedly indicated that behind the scenes, Sony could be working on an emulation solution for PS3 games on PS5. Further down the article, it reads that, quote, According to VentureBeat's Grub, however, the service could eventually receive PS3 emulation similar to other retro systems it's set to support. Since talking about it all this week, I've looked, I've asked. It sounds like Sony might be working on the emulation for PS3 to PS5. He said it may take some time. I wish they could come out and tell us that you care about this stuff, because that's what was missing from the PlayStation Plus announcement to me. It seems like they didn't care about any of it. They just slapped it together, put a new name on it, and sold it though. While this hasn't been stated publicly, the consensus is that due to the unique architecture of the PS3 and its infamous cell processors, emulating the system within the PS5 and software, the same way that the Xbox Series X emulates an Xbox 360, would be incredibly difficult. However, fans aren't convinced. YouTubers and developer at Night Dive Studio, Monted Vintage Gamer, tweeted in the wake of this week's announcement that emulating a PS3 onto the PS5 was absolutely possible, but that Sony had never been interested in investing the millions to make it happen, though. Now, I would say if it is actually possible, if what Monted Vintage Gamers is saying, though, I think it's a bit ridiculous that Sony isn't really investing into it, though. Yes, I mean, the PS3 had its share of criticisms, though, but it also had some very good games, such as the Infamous series, Infamous 1 and 2, the fourth entry of the Sly Cooper series as well. And some folks did enjoy the Killzone series, though, and I think a lot of those folks would be willing to play those games again, and play those PS3 games anyway, they just would like to play those type of games again, though. The only other solution I could think of, if they're not going to do that, is porting these games over and developing them to run on the onto the PS5, though. I mean, that's really the only other game, like a remake or a remaster of the first two Infamous or the first three Killzones and all. So it just seems a little bit, if what he's saying is true, it just seems a little ridiculous that Sony's only offering it through the cloud streaming. And again, like I said, that not everyone is down with that option, to be exact. Obviously, Sony hasn't officially said anything, so it's too early to tell whether this story is true or not. I hope it's true, though. I would like to see PS3 games running natively onto a PS5. I mean, that would be great. And I have to give, Microsoft credit for how they handle their backwards compatibility. Yes, not every game made it to the cut. Jet Set Radio Future, I like to point that out, to be exact. But I mean, I do have to give them credit for what they were able to pull off and how they were able to bring as many games as possible on the backwards compatibility, especially for playing like maybe games that I've heard about but never got a chance to play, like say Lost Odyssey is one example, to be exact. So to me it's a little bit unfortunate that right now with Sony, though, the only way to play PS3 games is through cloud streaming, though. I hope this story is true. I hope that basically they can find a way to do it, though. I think it's really ridiculous that they're not willing to spend the money to make it happen, though. But time will ultimately tell if that changes, though. So overall, though, very interesting report by Jeff Grubbs. I hope it's true, though. I do hope that there is a way to play PS3 games natively onto the PS5. But until then, though, the only way to pay PS3 games on the PS5, at least at this time, is through the cloud streaming that's part of PlayStation Plus and all. And I'm fully aware that cloud streaming, like I said before, is not a great not everyone is proud of that option, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with Bandai Namco responding to people who are asking about a sequel to Tales of Arise, one of their best-selling RPG of the Tales series that was released back last year in 2021. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of excuse me, of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, I want to be talking about Tales of Arise, or a lack of a sequel to it, to be exact though. One of the games that was released back in 2021, and I believe I ranked it at number 3 on my top favorite games on the Xbox Series S, was Tales of Arise, the latest entry in Bandai Namco's Tales series. Now, the Tales series has sort of been around for a while though, but I've just recently started getting into it though, playing from several entries on the PS4 to, I believe, one of the entries made its way over to the Nintendo Switch, and of course the latest one from basically on the Xbox Series S. And I will say, I do enjoy the game. I like the combat and the approach that they make the game, and it's definitely a series that I have really started to get into though. Now, Tales of Arise did very well last year. It shipped like over, I think, a little over 1 million copies though, and it was definitely loved by critics and fans though. Now, there have been some that have wondered whether or not a sequel to the game, sequel to Tales of Arise, was going to happen though. Well, Bandai Namco recently sort of responded or gave an answer to that, and those who are hoping for a sequel to Tales of Arise, or an actual sequel to it though, might be a little bit disappointed though. In an article posted on Game Radar, let's see if I can get that out. Okay, there we go. It says that, quote, "The producer of Tales of Arise has explained why the studio has no plans for a direct sequel or narrative expansion. Speaking to Edge magazine, producer Yuxa, I have a hard time saying his name, so I apologize, one of the producers of the game, said that despite the game's success, Tales of Arise shipping 1.5 million copies in its first month to become the series' fast-selling title ever, a sequel wasn't on the cards. Instead, the team hopes that the story would be complete with a good aftertaste that would eliminate the need for expansion. Instead of building on that story, the producer of that game said that his studio wanted to continue to take on the challenge of acquiring new fans for future expansions of JRPGs. To do that, we need to come up with a cutting-edge flagship title that builds on the success of Arise, while also providing an opportunity to rediscover the history of the series. While a sequel isn't on the cards, a healthy rival helped push Tales of Arise forward. As one of the game directors explained, that the relative similarity between his game's combat system and that of Scarlet Nexus, another good game from last year from Bandai Namco. I enjoyed that one. I think that made that one on my top 9. I may have said 10 by mistake, but I apologize. But top 9 Xbox Series S games, though, which launched a few months ahead of Tales, stem from the Scarlet Nexus director. While the two games didn't directly share any ideas, this person did say, "We did see each other as rivals due to Scarlet Nexus director's previous roles in the Arise series, or the Tales series to be exact." So for me though, I would say I'm somewhat disappointed, but I'm also not really shocked by this in any way though. I mean, to me, it's kind of sort of like how I look at the Final Fantasy series from Square Enix though. You rarely see a actual sequel to sort of like that entry, or a continuation of the story of that entry. Like when we go from Final Fantasy 2 to like Final Fantasy 3, or like Final Fantasy 14 to Final Fantasy 15, that it was a brand new setting and so forth. So it's not surprising to hear that though, because in a way Tales kind of takes that approach somewhat similar to what the Final Fantasy series does. Yes, every now and then you do get somewhat of a sequel to that story's world though. I believe Final Fantasy X got a sequel with Final Fantasy X2. Final Fantasy 13 got, I think, 2 more entries though. Final Fantasy 7 to some degree did get a sequel, such as I think a movie called Avert Children, if I'm saying the name correctly, and I think a third-person shooter, I think on the PS2 though. I think the Tales also experimented with that in a way. I think there were two entries. One that was started on the GameCube and then made its way over to the Wii. And I think there was one on the PS3. And I think there was also one on the... I think one that acted as a prequel to a game on the PS4. So it has happened before, though, but mostly, though, they don't usually do sequels in that kind of direction or anything like that. So, and in a way, I'm kind of somewhat disappointed on it, because it would have been nice to see a actual sequel to Tales of Arise. I mean, imagine if they had one where a major threat has happened that requires the Renins and the Danins, if I'm saying the name correctly, put their differences aside to try to combat this new threat or something like that. Maybe there's still tension going on even after how the game ended and all. So it to me, part of me kind of wish there was basically an actual sequel, but it is what it is, unfortunately, though. And so to me, it's not something I'm losing sleep over it, though, but it is, I will admit, it's kind of disappointed that they're not going to do an actual sequel to Tales of Arise. But either way, I am looking forward to the next entry in the Tales series, though, whatever that new game might be. And I would certainly be open to the idea of maybe past Tales games making their way, getting a remake or making their way over to like the Nintendo Switch, or one designed for the Switch specifically, like how we saw Capcom did with Monster Hunter Rise, though. So overall, I would say, yeah, a little bit disappointed that we're not going to get a sequel to Tales of Arise, though. But like I said, I wasn't really surprised by that statement at all, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final video, and this one has to do with Unreal Engine 5, and that it's officially is now out for developers to use. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Epic Games, particularly with Unreal Engine 5. Now, when most people think of Epic Games, most people know them for, Fortnite, the Battle Royale game that has been very popular with Epic Games, though. Not to mention, just recently, they added a feature of a no building mode, which some people like, some people don't, though. But most people will also recognize Epic Games for basically the Unreal Engine, though. An engine that has been very popular among developers, though, and when handled properly, though, can produce some very impressive games, to be exact, though. And just recently, though, they have held a presentation to finally reveal that Unreal Engine 5 is open for developers and other folks there to use, to be exact, though. This was part of during their presentation, their Unreal keynote presentation, to be exact. In a article, if I can get it out, in an article posted on IGN and other sites, it reads, quote, Unreal Engine is Epic's latest in the line of game engines available to game developers big and small. While the release of a new game engine isn't typically news that excites folks until, well, video games start getting made with them, Epic first revealed the engine, Unreal Engine 5, with a blockbuster tech demo. Called Lumen in the lands of nanites, if I say the name correctly. The tech demo was made specifically to demonstrate two of the marquee features of Unreal Engine 5. Lumen is a dynamic illumination tool where light adapts to the world naturally and easily, though. Other part of the article points out that developers known for open world games are already lining up, as CD Projekt Red recently announced that the next Witcher game will be developed on Unreal Engine 5. And according to Epic's game CTO, the relationship between Epic and the developers mean that if CDPR finds areas for improvements for Unreal Engine 5, they could find their way back to Epic and be used by other developers, though. This back and forth between developers and Unreal Engine 5 has already been put to use. one of the folks said the Coalition, another AAA studio that announced it's working with Unreal Engine 5 for its next game, has already added contributes and improvement to Unreal Engine 5 that was implemented in The Matrix Awakening. It makes us very proud. The Coalition, they have a special place in our heart when it comes to Unreal Engine 5. They actually added functionality to the engine that was brought back into the engine. These include high-level lighting techniques that were previously only available on high-end computers that, thanks to the Coalition, can run on modern consoles in a cost-effective way, as well optimized techniques that allows things like The Matrix Awakening to run on lower power consoles like the Xbox Series S. Because they're such a great community, we love the ideas that a great developer, no matter how big or small they are, if they have an awesome idea that makes the workflow better, the visual better, and the gameplay truly next gen, we'll take that stuff back though. So it's certainly what they have shown so far is very impressive, whether it's The Matrix Awakening or this shooter, I believe it was called, and if I say it, sample shooter called Lyra, Lyra, though. I mean, again, what they showed is impressive, but bear in mind these are simply tech demos. Do I expect every game to run on Unreal Engine 5 to look exactly how the tech demos are shown? Not really, though. While I don't deny the fact that we will see developers really take full advantage of Unreal Engine 5 and really wow us with the visuals and all that stuff, I don't expect every game is going to look like what they showed with the tech demo, like with The Matrix Awakening, to be exact. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago they showed off tech demos for like Unreal Engine 4, and of course we got games like Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default that run on Unreal Engine 4 though. Don't get me wrong, those games look good, but they're not blowing you away with its visuals or anything like that. But still, nevertheless, it's going to be really interesting to see what developers do with Unreal Engine 5 and how they implement it though, whether it's a big developer or a small developer. So I am certainly very curious to see what kind of games we are going to see though. It is worth pointing out that the Unreal Engine 5 is going to be available on multiple systems, including the Nintendo Switch though. So while it certainly is great that the Nintendo Switch will support Unreal Engine 5, it is worth pointing out that don't go in expecting that you're going to get the same kind of graphical bells and whistles that systems like the PS5 or the Xbox Series S and X or PC will have though. From an article back in 2000 though, this comes from basically from Nintendo Everything. It points out, if I could get it up there, that said, to maintain capability with older generation platforms, we have this next generation content pipeline where you build your assets or import them at a highest level quality, the film level quality that you run directly on next generation consoles. The engine provides and will provide more scalable points to down resolution your content to run on everything, all the way down to ISO and Android devices from several years ago. So you build your content once and you can deploy it everywhere. You could build the same game for all these systems, but you'll just get a different level of graphic fidelity. We also said that Unreal Engine 5 is necessary on Switch and other devices because the PS5 and Xbox Series X, and besides the PS5 and Xbox Series S, because when Fortnite switches to Unreal Engine 5 late next year, remember this came out in 2020 or 21, I believe. Next year, we'll continue supporting all 9 platforms. Well, 9 when you add the 2 new ones, though. Yes, Fortnite will be the first title to make use of this tech. So, while it certainly is nice to see that the Nintendo Switch will support Unreal Engine 5, though, just like they said, don't expect to see the kind of graphical bells and whistles that you'll get from the, PS5 or Xbox Series S and X and PC, which really isn't surprising though. It will be interesting to see how if a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro happens, how will that take advantage of Unreal Engine 5 and also overall though, it's nice to hear that the new Unreal Engine 5 is now out there. And while I don't deny the fact that we'll see games from a lot of developers, excuse me, from CD Projekt Red's Witcher 4 to the next Tomb Raider game in development for Unreal Engine 5 to what the Coalition might be working on, though, it certainly will be nice to see how they take full advantage of it, though. But at the same time, I also expect that smaller developers, or shall we say, not everyone's going to have a game that runs on Unreal Engine 5 that's going to be, have all the graphical bells and whistles. So, but either way, it's going to be very interesting to see what small developers do with it and what big developers do with it. And I am kind of curious to see how games on Unreal Engine 5 run, whether it's on my Xbox Series S, the PS5, or even the Nintendo Switch for that matter. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the senators' concern about the deal with Activision, Activision and Microsoft, though? Do you think that their concern is justifiable, though, in any way? Do you think they're blowing it out of proportion, though? Are you worried that there won't be a change in culture at Activision Blizzard, or do you think Microsoft will change the culture there? What are your thoughts about this report about the possibility of native PS3 games running on the PS5? Do you think it's technically possible, though? Do you think that Sony could get these games running properly on the PS3 on the PS5, or do you think they really can't? What are your thoughts about Tales of Arise not getting a sequel? Are you shocked by this? Are you not shocked by this at all? Would you have liked to see a sequel to Tales of Arise? And what are your thoughts about Unreal Engine 5, though? Do you think the tech demo they showed was very impressive in any way? Do you think we'll see a lot of games that run on this or not? Do you agree with what I said on this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Till then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!